And we're kicking off with NXT as CM Punk made a surprise appearance in the opening segment with Shawn Michaels and earned a huge response from the crowd in Bridgeport. There had been no teases of Punk being at NXT up until the day of the show, and now we know more about how plans for the Best in the World came together, as PW Insider's Mike Johnson reports. CM Punk's appearance to start tonight's WWE NXT Deadline pay-per-view was something that was pitched at Friday Night SmackDown, PWInsider.com is told. Punk was immediately up for the appearance. As for why Punk was on the show, that was pretty much just to feature one of WWE's most interesting superstars and create some more buzz around the Gold brand. It's also been pointed out that Deadline was going head-to-head with AEW Collision and Impact's Final Resolution, so Punk being on the show would help attract viewers away from the other two. During his promo at Deadline, Punk confirmed that he'll reveal on tonight's Raw which brand he'll sign with, and teased that he could be sticking around in NXT. Given Punk's issues with Seth Rollins, it's highly likely he'll be sticking with Raw, and what do you make of Punk at Deadline? Did he overshadow the rest of the show? Let us know in the comments. Since Punk's return, Seth Rollins has made it abundantly clear that he isn't pleased to see the Chicago-made star back, and made that clear once again during a WWE event in Utica, New York. When a CM Punk chant broke out, Rollins sarcastically asked "Who's that?" before pointing out that Punk, unlike himself, wasn't competing in front of the Utica crowd. Seth said that maybe Punk will grow a set one day and compete, and while raising his championship, said it's clear who the best in the world really is. Punk and Rollins will face off inevitably, with some pointing at WrestleMania 40 as the right time, and then we'll see who truly is the best in the world. Now today marks 100 days since CM Punk was fired from AEW, and clearly a lot has changed since Punk's termination and now. Of course, it's never fun to lose your job, and that's especially the case in wrestling, but for CM Punk, his exit from Tony Khan's employ wasn't all that bad. Brian Alvarez of the Wrestling Observer reports that while Punk wasn't looking to be fired, as some have claimed, he was not upset at losing his job, clearly feeling like things couldn't be salvaged. It took CM Punk just 2 years to go from AEW's Golden Goose to the company pariah, and Punk made it clear he's ready to move on from being All Elite. It seems everybody has had their say about CM Punk's return to WWE, but what does Ace Steel, one of the men closest to Punk, think about this situation? Speaking on the Wrestling with Rip Rogers podcast, Steel was asked about his protege and is excited to see what's to come for Punk. He said, "I'm very proud of my #1 student that I've ever coached in the world for heading back to show the world who the he is. The reason people hate him or whatever is he's not about the bullshit, and the guy doesn't take and he doesn't take it lightly. And when you've had enough you either explode or you take care of business yourself and you defend yourself." Punk helped bring Steel into AEW, and Ace was fired following the All Out 2022 Brawl for his involvement with the fight, only to be rehired around the launch of AEW Collision. Now Steel is once again out of AEW, and it's unclear what's next for him, but he's clearly going to enjoy seeing his prized student back in a WWE ring. What did you make of Steele's comments about Punk's WWE return, and the reason people apparently hate the ex-AEW World Champion? Sound off in the comments. On last week's SmackDown, Punk teased going after undisputed WWE Universal Champion Roman Reigns, and even said that he has plans of finishing his own story by beating the Tribal Chief. WWE reportedly does have plans for a Reigns-Punk feud, but it's said to be in the long term, and one superstar is adamant that he takes a swing at the Bloodline leader first. At a WWE live event, LA Knight made it clear he wants another shot at Reigns, and said that the likes of CM Punk and Randy Orton will have to get in line behind him if they also want a shot. Knight lost to Reigns at Crown Jewel, and WWE would be wise to book a rematch quickly, but with Reigns' next match not expected until the Royal Rumble, that's easier said than done. Punk and Orton are both expected to feud with Reigns, but it's unclear if Knight will get another shot. And would you like to see Knight feud with CM Punk down the line? Let us know below. More from SmackDown, as last week's show saw Charlotte Flair suffer some kind of knee injury during her match with Asuka, but was still able to finish the bout. Flair was seen being tended to after the match, and PW Insider reports that Flair has been pulled from all WWE's live events for this week she was supposed to be at. Not only that, Flair was also pulled from live events over the weekend due to the injury, though details remain scarce as to exactly what is wrong at this time. What we do know is that some in WWE are extremely concerned that it could be fairly serious, and we'll make sure to follow her situation for any more updates. At NXT Deadline, Dominik Mysterio lost the North American Championship to Dragon Lee, and fans may have noticed that Dirty Dom went into the match without his Judgment Day allies. In a backstage segment, Mysterio was understandably angry about the loss to Dragon Lee and also made reference to his deadbeat dad Rey Mysterio being on commentary. Dominik also questioned where the rest of the Judgment Day was before concluding that he was going to go home to mommy and said the Judgment Day runs all. It'll be interesting to see how this story develops and whether the faction members will explain not helping Dominik out, but for now, we have a new champion, and his name is Dragon Lee. The Judgment Day may have lost a title, but they still have the undisputed tag titles and Women's World Championship, and recently, Rhea Ripley reached a milestone with her gold. It's been 250 days since Rhea Ripley began her reign by winning the SmackDown Women's title at WrestleMania 39, and it remains to be seen who can take the gold from the Australian. If you've been following Kenta's career, you'll know of his issues with CM Punk, and ever since Punk's return to WWE, the Japanese star has been taking shots. This week, Kenta shared a photo of CM Punk and Triple H from Survivor Series, but replaced Punk's face with his own and the game with Japanese baseball player Shohei Ohtani. Ohtani has signed with the LA Dodgers in a $700 million deal, and in the tweet, Kenta wished Ohtani luck and advised him not to punch people in backstage fights. This is of course a nod to Punk, and while CM Punk is looking to move on from his backstage AEW antics, Kenta doesn't plan on making that easy. On Twitter, the WWE on Fox account shared a photo of Bobby Lashley and the Street Profits with the caption, "Dem Boys," and this single tweet has caused a stir among fans and wrestlers. For years, that phrase was synonymous with the Briscoes, and on Twitter, Mark Briscoe said that whoever runs the Twitter account should be fired for their lack of knowledge. Mark added that perhaps whoever used the phrase in the tweet needs the taste slapped out of their mouth, and wasn't the only one to comment. Maria Kanellis called the tweet disrespectful and tone-deaf, and said that the Briscoes are the only Dem Boys, and shared photos of herself hanging with Mark and Jay. Mark's tweet received some negative comments, with many feeling that he had taken things too far, and in a tweet of her own, Mickie James said that people are disrespecting Mark all for a fake like. James added that fans should remember that Mark is still grieving the loss of his brother before they feel so comfortable being disrespectful to him on Twitter. Mark would give a follow-up tweet stating that some of the responses he's seen are wild and said that "I got a little in my feelings" and that he really misses his brother. Briscoe added that Triple H doesn't have to fire anybody, stating that times are tough, and shared his love for everyone before advising them to take it light. The wrestling world is still reeling from the death of Jay Briscoe, and it seems that things boiled over this week, and let it be a reminder to everyone to think before they tweet. Before he was racking up a winning streak in WCW, Bill Goldberg was a football player in the NFL, and this past weekend returned to the gridiron and made an impact. In footage from the Atlanta Falcons vs. Tampa Bay Buccaneers game, Goldberg showed up and speared a Tom Brady supporter before delivering his "Who's Next" catchphrase for good measure. Goldberg is currently a free agent as his WWE contract expired last year and is on the hunt for a retirement match, and clearly hasn't lost his touch, as this Brady fan will attest. The Jacksonville Jaguars were also in action recently as they took on the Cleveland Browns, and a popular WWE star appeared in support of the NFL team against Tony Khan's Jaguars. During the day, Johnny Gargano made his presence felt and rallied up the crowd and brought out a Jaguars-themed guitar, which he proceeded to smash into pieces. Gargano wasn't the only WWE superstar at a recent NFL game, as Baron Corbin was at the game between the Kansas City Chiefs and the Buffalo Bills, and even snapped a selfie with Taylor Swift. The music sensation was at the game to support her boyfriend Travis Kelce of the Chiefs, and there was plenty of wrestling involvement this past weekend in the NFL. In September, Mace and Mansoor were released from WWE, and this weekend, the pair reunited for an event at Deadlock Pro Wrestling. The ex-superstars earned a massive pop from the crowd, including a "holy you-know-what" chant, but because of their non-compete clause with WWE, did not compete at the show. DPW's World's Strongest did see plenty of ex-WWE stars, including Shawn Spears, James Drake, and Zach Gibson, but it was arguably the Maximum Male Models who got the biggest pop of the night. Dolph Ziggler was arguably the biggest name cut from WWE this past September, and after his 90-day non-compete clause is up, we know when to expect to see the show-off in the ring. Lucha Libre Online were the first to report that Ziggler will compete at their Three Kings Day event on January 6th, where he'll face off against one of Puerto Rico's legends, Rey Gonzalez. Ziggler was under contract with WWE for 19 years and is now ready to make his name elsewhere, and it'll be interesting to see what's next for him once he becomes a free agent. More from CM Punk now, as the best in the world left WWE long before Braun Strowman was on the main roster, but now the monster among men is ready for the Chicago-made star. Speaking with India Today, Strowman was asked about Punk's alleged quarrels with Seth Rollins and Drew McIntyre and made it clear he's open to fighting the former AEW star. He said, "I've never met the guy personally, so I don't know what his quarrels are with Seth Rollins, Drew McIntyre. I'll make an assessment of what kind of person he is when I get to meet him, but just know he can get these hands like anybody else." Strowman is currently out after having neck fusion surgery, and it's unclear when he'll be back, but if CM Punk hasn't gotten himself fired before then, we could see Braun and Punk lock up in a WWE ring. Would you like to see Braun Strowman face off with CM Punk, and how would you book a feud between them? Let us know in the comments down below. Now, Cody Rhodes has an incredible connection with the WWE fans, and this past weekend, the American Nightmare had a very special gift for one lucky fan in attendance. At a WWE live event in Utica, Cody told the fans that the WWE production has freaked out in the past when he's tried to gift a fan a broken table, but that didn't stop him from gifting a table to a fan. That table was broken when Rhodes put Damian Priest and JD McDonough through it at the event, and it's certainly the most interesting item one can pick up at a WWE live event. For over a year, Thunder Rosa has been out of action with a severe back injury, but this week, the former AEW Women's World Champion gave a great update on her condition. Speaking with News 4 in San Antonio, Rosa herself commented that she is ready for "my boss" to bring her back, and she's got a lot more to give after being out of action. Rosa has reportedly been fully healed for some time, and it's now up to AEW to decide when to bring her back, but hopefully it won't be much longer now. In September, Richard Holliday took part in a WWE tryout, but when he recently returned to MLW at last weekend's One Shot event, many assumed the tryout had been unsuccessful. In an update, however, Fightful Select has learned that Holliday is on a per-appearance deal with MLW, meaning that he hasn't signed a new contract with the company. This could be a sign that WWE is still mulling over signing Holliday, or that an offer has already been made, so we'll have to keep a close eye on where he ends up going. We've got some sad news, as former Tennessee Titan and brief TNA wrestling performer Frank Wycheck has passed away at the age of 52. While best known for his NFL run, Wycheck appeared for TNA in 2007, and after having an altercation with James Storm at a press conference, teamed with Jerry Lynn to defeat Storm and Ron Killings at that year's Slammiversary. On Twitter, Impact Wrestling paid tribute to Wycheck, calling him a legend of the Titans, and we'd like to share our condolences to those who knew him best at this time. With the holidays coming up, people are looking forward to spending some free time with those they're closest to, but typically, WWE superstars aren't afforded this luxury. In the past, WWE superstars have had to continue working right through the season, but with Triple H as head of creative, there's been something of a change from this tradition. Fightful Select reports that WWE talent are going to receive a full week off during the Christmas holiday week, with no WWE events being scheduled between December 19th and December 25th. On December 26th, however, the WWE Holiday Live Tour will kick things back into momentum with WWE's annual Boxing Day show inside Madison Square Garden. During a recent interview, it was shared that Triple H's plan is for WWE superstars to have more time for their families rather than being solely focused on working for the company. This week off will certainly be a morale booster for WWE's roster, as the superstars will have a whole week off to rest and relax before getting back into the ring in MSG. It was in September that Jade Cargill signed with WWE in a blockbuster deal for the two sides, but after a series of appearances on Raw, SmackDown, and NXT, we haven't seen Cargill in some time. Taking to Twitter this week, Cargill spoke to the fans and said, "I do miss your faces in the crowd," seemingly indicating that she isn't pleased that her WWE run has hit this delay. Shortly after this tweet, though, Cargill deleted her post, but not before fans were able to spot what she had said. Triple H has made it clear that WWE is taking its time with Cargill, as they don't want to rush such a high-profile signing, and we'll have to see when the ex-AEW star makes her in-ring debut. Not long ago, Matt Hardy spoke about being frustrated within AEW about his role in the company, while his brother Jeff said he sometimes feels like a ghost because of how he's not used. This week, the Hardys didn't appear on AEW Dynamite in Montreal, disappointing fans who wanted to see them, but this time it wasn't entirely AEW's fault. On his Extreme Life podcast, Matt explained that Jeff still has issues getting into Canada, and since he wasn't going to be booked, Matt wasn't either, so we'll have to see when the Hardys are next on TV. Now MJF, who in addition to being the longest reigning AEW World Champion, will be part of the Iron Claw biopic, has also served as an executive producer. The movie tells the story of the lives and many tragedies of the Von Erich family, and while MJF will be part of the new film, his role in the project has been severely cut. In the Wrestling Observer newsletter, it was stated that MJF's role in the film was significantly cut and that he is barely featured in the film, in which he plays kayfabe relation Lance Von Erich. The report adds that MJF is on camera for maybe 10 seconds at the most, has no speaking lines, and unless you were really looking for him, you'd never know he was in it. After his world title win at Full Gear 2022, MJF went on a foul-mouthed rant in which his movie role proved that he was the only star in AEW, but the champ clearly overestimated his role for the Iron Claw. And we're ending today with Rebel, and the last time we saw her wrestle, it was on an August 2022 edition of Dark, and after Britt Baker turned babyface earlier this year, we haven't seen the dentist's former ally. In an update, Fightful Select noted that Rebel remains under contract with AEW, and while there's been some talks of bringing her back to TV, there's currently no plans for her to wrestle. In a tweet, Rebel has teased wrestling on the independent scene in 2024, and whether that happens or not, don't expect her to lock up in an AEW ring anytime soon.